at foxnews.com. We want to hear what you have to say, and we'll share some of your comments tomorrow. Until then, have a great night. We'll see you later.
The O'Reilly Factor is on tonight. More than 12,000 viewers wrote to us about the Rosie O'Donnell interview. We'll analyze the worldwide reaction. Is the media overdoing the Catholic priest pedophilia scandal? We'll hear from someone who says yes, and we'll also talk with a doctor who treats pedophile priests. And the volcanic Bobby Knight will be here. What kind of example has he set for the American youth? Caution, you're about to enter a no-spin zone. Factor begins in 90 seconds.
Good evening, I'm Kieran Chetra. Yasser Arafat deciding to skip an Arab summit in Beirut after Israel refuses to drop a travel ban. Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon says that Arafat is not allowed to go until he declares a ceasefire. The decision comes despite U.S. urging to allow the Palestinian leader to attend. Arafat will still address the conference by satellite. Right now in eastern Afghanistan, at least 1,800 people are dead, thousands of others homeless after a series of earthquakes hit north of Kabul. The United Nations is rushing in aid relief, blankets, and water to the devastated areas. No American troops were hurt or killed. 3 U.S. companies have been named in a lawsuit on behalf of black Americans, claiming that the companies profited from slavery 150 years ago. It's the first time ever a class action seeking such reparations. The 3 companies, Aetna Insurance, CSX Railway, and Fleet Boston, are being asked to pay $35 million to descendants of African slaves. Congressman Gary Condit has been subpoenaed by a D.C. grand jury. The court is looking into Chandra Levy's disappearance and probing possible obstruction of justice. Police say Condit admitted having an affair with the missing intern, but that he's not considered a suspect. Condit lost the Democratic primary earlier this month. And we're back with another update at the bottom of the hour. The O'Reilly Factor is up next.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thank you for watching us tonight. More than 12,000 letters have come in about the Rosie O'Donnell interview last night. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Most Americans who watched the conversation like what they heard. Many say they have a new respect for Miss O'Donnell and her cause of getting as many children adopted as possible, even if the parents are gay. The minority view holds that since the Bible says homosexuality is wrong, there should be no gay adoption. But whatever your opinion, you have to admit that Miss O'Donnell was brave to come on the Factor. As she explained, her paid advisors lobbied heavily against her appearance, fearing she would falter under the questioning. They adopted the Al Gore approach: avoid any confrontational interview situation, play it safe. But that doesn't work in America anymore. Since the advent of cable news, people want newsmakers to defend their positions under heavy questioning. A few people like Hillary Clinton can get away with avoiding the press. Mrs. Clinton is so famous that she can hide out and still be successful. But not so Jesse Jackson, for example. His power and influence is greatly diminished because he will not explain his very questionable finances, thinking Americans know something is very wrong with Jackson's nonprofit organizations, and he can't avoid judgment by staying silent. We are living in a new media world, and Rosie O'Donnell is smart enough to understand that. She knows that in order to get the ban on gay adoption overturned in Florida, she has to make her case in a forum that does not pander to her. She has to change minds. And she did that last night. I believe the state of Florida will allow gay adoption. It's only a matter of time. Talking Points hopes the O'Donnell interview will send a message to the powerful people in America. You can't hide behind your handlers anymore. If you want respect, you have to step up and answer the questions. Americans admire honesty and courage above all. Already, Senators John Kerry, John Edwards, Joseph Lieberman, potential presidential candidates in 2004, have made stops on the Factor. These guys know they'll get their say and potentially could change some minds. We encourage people like John Ashcroft, Charles Schumer, and George Clooney to do the same thing. We have questions for you guys, and you'll be treated fairly. People ask me who I'd like to interview the most. Well, the Pope is number 1, especially now. Hillary number 2, Jackson number 3. And hey, you never know who thought Rosie O'Donnell would show up. But she did, and it paid off big for everybody. And that's a memo. Your mail on a subject at the end of the broadcast. Now the top story tonight, the media pounding the Catholic Church. The newspaper articles continue to criticize the church leadership for its non-aggressive stance on pedophile priests. But is the media overdoing it? Joining us now from Philadelphia is Dr. Larry Chapp, an associate professor of theology at DeSales University. Dr. Chapp is a Roman Catholic. Are we overdoing it, Doctor?
Well, to a certain extent, I think that we are. Certainly, I feel a little sheepish coming on national television and, in a sense, trying to defend the indefensible, which is what I really don't want to do. But I do think that there is an increasing emphasis on factors like celibacy as the cause of this sexual scandal. And I just don't think that celibacy is the sexual cause. And if people really do want to solve this problem, which we all do, then I think we need to focus on what the problem is. And I don't think the problem is celibacy.
What is the problem?
I think that you've actually correctly identified the problem. I think your show is better than most. I think what we have is not a crisis of celibacy in the church or a crisis of the priesthood. I think what we have is a crisis of leadership. It seems like we have a crisis of celibacy because all of these issues have come all out at once because the bishops have kept a lid on this for so long. The bishops have been woefully derelict in their duty to protect our children, and I think what we have is a crisis of leadership.
All right, now, there is no linkage between celibacy and pedophilia. I mean, it just doesn't happen. Pedophilia is it's not a sex crime. It's a perversion. It's a criminal act. It's all kinds of things that have nothing to do with a healthy sexual appetite.
Agreed.
But the argument is that if you have dropped the celibacy, that you'll recruit healthier people, that anybody now going into a situation where sex is banned forever, you're going to get out of that group, some troubled people. And that's the argument. If you open it up, you'll have healthier people serving the church.
Well, it would seem on the surface that that is a reasonable argument, since celibacy does seem to be contrary to nature and so forth. And yet the statistics Philip Jenkins has written a wonderful book called Priests and Pedophiles that shows quite clearly that there is just as high of an incidence of child molestation, sexual molestation among Protestant clergy as there is among Catholic clergy. But I don't see Philip Jenkins trotted around by the media, even though he's written one of the best books on this subject out there right now.
Do you think it's because the media is anti-Catholic? That's what Ray Flynn in Boston says. There's a Boston Globe who really started this investigation, is anti-Catholic, wants to bash the Catholic Church. Do you feel that's truthful in the media?
I think that's too generic. I think there are some outlets, some media outlets that do have it out for the Catholic Church because
Which one?
Because of its social. Oh, for the Boston Globe for one, even though they did a good thing, and this time around by exposing the scandal that was going on up in Boston. But nevertheless, the Boston Globe, as you pointed out the last time I was on this show, has never been a friend of the Catholic Church. Maureen Dowd in the New York Times has referred to the priesthood as a parade of perverts in the editorial that she had the other day called the Vatican Rag. I mean, that kind of hyperbolic rhetoric only comes from people who have an agenda of their own.
All right, but you get I don't think that the press across the board in the United States is anti-Catholic.
No, I don't either.
I do think there are editorial writers who connect their passion for abortion, or what they call reproductive rights now, they put a nice name on it, they connect that passion for that issue with the Catholic Church, and therefore they don't like the Church. I understand that. But in this case, I've been very harsh on the Catholic leadership, Law and Egan, the cardinals of Boston and New York respectively, and even the Pope, even though he's 82, and I know he's probably mentally diminished over there, they have not set an example and a tone that puts the children first. They put themselves first, and the cardinals do, and I don't know what the Pope is doing.
Well, I agree with you completely. I think that I'm not here to defend the indefensible. The bishops who have done this, in my opinion, should resign. I think they ought to resign. They've been woefully derelict in their duties. But
should they be arrested and prosecuted?
I think that if a bishop, during the period of time when there's the statute of limitations is still in, if a bishop knows that a priest has, in a sense, raped a child and does not turn that over to authorities and then reassigns that priest and it happens again, then I don't know how the legal system works, but I do think the bishop does need to be held in some sense legally accountable.
Okay, because right now what we have is the bishops have not been held accountable. Even the Bishop of Palm Beach, Florida, who admitted that he had some kind of sexual relationship with a seminarian, and I don't know whether the seminarian was under 18 or not. He just basically say, well, yeah, I'll see you around, see you later, goodbye. Yep. Nothing happens to these people. And I think that's what the crux of the matter is with the press. The press says if you're a principal in a school, and you know your teacher's molesting a kid, and you just take the teacher out of the classroom, put him in another classroom, and he does it again, you, the principal, are charged with a crime. Why aren't these clerics charged with a crime? That's the thing that the press is really driving right now.
Well, I think that this is one of the things that your show has been pushing, and I think rightly so. I saw Alan Keyes. I don't want to plug an alternate network, but I saw Alan Keyes on MSNBC last night. I thought he was doing a wonderful job of making that same point. The issue here is accountability and holding these people accountable. My beef primarily with the media are those media outlets who are focusing on celibacy and are using this issue to politicize their own agenda against the church on various other issues.
All right, Doctor, thanks very much. We always appreciate your point of view. Next on the rundown, we'll talk with a doctor who has treated priests for child abuse. That should be interesting. We'll be back in a moment.
They both worked their way up the ladder. Same executive perks, same six-figure salaries. So why does one look forward to early retirement, while the other looks forward to the 15th and the 31st? Some people already know our financial representatives excel at a lot more than life insurance. Northwestern Mutual Financial Network. Are you there yet?
In my 30s, I tried everything for my headaches. Then I discovered Bayer Extra Strength, and the pain went away. In my 40s, I started getting bad back pain, and Bayer came through again. Now I have arthritis in my knees, and I still depend on Bayer Extra Strength. Bayer goes to work right at the site of pain and inflammation. Nothing works better. For relief I can always count on, there's still no better choice than Bayer. And aspirin is the only pain reliever that can help save your life.
Bayer. Take it for pain, take it for life. Experience the new National Geographic Channel. Spectacular new shows. Around-the-clock adventure. The continuing story of life on Earth every day of the week. A new channel. A new National Geographic. Log on to nationalgeographic.com and request the new NGC. Always wonder.
Honey, how much money did the contractor say he needed?
$7,500.
What if getting money from your home equity was this painless? Well, thanks to Ditech.com, it may be. Just log on or call 1-800-71-FIXED now. Apply to refinance and get cash out for home improvements or anything else. We'll arrange an appraiser, notary, and even deliver to your door. Ditech.com, your mortgage solution delivered.
In fact, a follow-up segment tonight, treating pedophile priests. If I had the knowledge and the skill, I couldn't do it. I'd punch them out. I'm serious. But more disciplined people are treating these guys. And joining us now from Baltimore is Dr. Fred Berlin, a professor of psychiatry at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine. You know, I just too angry at these people. I couldn't ever sympathize with them. And I know that's a character flaw on my part. But when you see a priest, and you've treated a few of them, who comes in, and the real violation here is that these people are putting themselves up as men of God, and they hear confession, and they're trusted, and people let them into their homes, and they use their collar and power to, to insert themselves in people's lives. And then they violate children at the worst possible way. How can they look you in the eye, doctor, or anybody else, and talk about it? I mean, how can they?
Well, that's actually one of the first issues that we have to deal with in many cases in treatment. That is that these people really have been deceiving themselves. They're in denial. We have to compel them to see the extent to which they've abused trust. That not only they abuse trust of their victim, but of families and society, that it's an abuse of sacred trust. And
all
so
right, but don't they think they're going to hell if they sincerely believe in good and evil, in sin and virtue? Don't they say, hey, look, I'm going to hell here. I mean, this is a sin way off the chart.
I don't think they get it. That's part of the problem.
Really?
Yes, in many instances where I've seen the priest, he feels he's made a mistake. He may be genuinely remorseful and feels that as long as he is sorry and says so, things may be better. And clearly part of making things better is to go beyond that, to accept accountability, which we have to help people better understand, to hopefully make some restitution in situations where it's possible to do so, and to stop engaging in this form of self-deceit. And that's just often a very big, important part of the therapeutic process.
Do they rationalize, or they have excuses for their conduct?
Yes, they feel that they were trying to be loving, missing the fact that they're loving in a way that's absolutely unacceptable. If they haven't actually gone to more advanced levels of sexual activity, they define sex as, well, it wasn't really sex because I didn't go as far as someone else might have gone. The degree of self-deceit that is there is remarkable. It's much like you see in the severe alcoholic whose liver is completely shot, he's killing himself, and for some reason he's just not able to see it.
Do you ever see empathy for the victims?
Well, that's one of the big aspects of treatment, is to try to develop the empathy. If you're not clear on how much damage you've done, if you think that it really wasn't all that wrong, it's hard to be empathic. Where we do see empathy, and not in all cases, I don't want to overstate the case, but when people begin to realize just what it is they've done, how many people have hurt, including the silent victims, the non-offending priests, then in many instances I certainly have seen, well, many, I've only treated a handful, but in a number of cases I've seen what I think is then genuine empathy.
Are they empowered or enabled by a church that covers up their crimes?
Well, again, I don't know all of the motives of the church, so I want to be very careful here, but certainly people need to understand the consequences of their behavior. They need to be held accountable.
But what are the consequences when they're transferred from parish to parish? They see a guy like you, you make a report, and then the guy says, well, yeah, he's cured, we'll put him in another parish.
That's wrong. I mean, there was a time historically when doctors such as myself thought that pedophilia could be cured, and that was absolutely wrong. And I think in some cases at least, the bishops were very much misled. If you can't cure, but part of successful treatment is not to have people in positions of temptation that they may not be able to handle, that's a very different issue.
All right, last question, shouldn't they be punished? Shouldn't they have to go to jail for a couple of years just as a message?
Well, I'm not an expert on jurisprudence. I certainly think that treatment should not be something that excuses people from consequences. I certainly think that this needs to be both a criminal justice matter and a public health matter, and I think to try to do one and not the other in any instance is probably a mistake.
I just can't imagine living with myself if I had committed that kind of hypocrisy. You know, I'm not going to call it a sin or whatever. I'll leave that to the deity.
Well, I'll hear
but
that.
I can't imagine. I'd be so despairing, you know?
I hear that, sir, but if I may, I think if you're facing the reality of perhaps going to prison for 30 years and didn't feel that it would necessarily be the case that you'd have to, you'd probably hope to avoid it. That, too, is
No,
just
you might
human
hope to
nature.
avoid it, but I put myself on some island someplace where I couldn't do any more damage. Hey, Doctor, we appreciate your point of view. Thanks very much.
Thanks for having me.
Next, the Supreme Court says the government can throw poor people out of public housing if anyone in the house uses drugs. Both sides in just a few moments.
May your travels bring you serenity. Satisfaction. Like when you book ahead, ask for the daylight savings rate and save 25% on your days in room. It's like getting the bathroom free. All you need is the inspiration to book now.
Proud to be the only tire of the space shuttle, because so much is riding on your tires.
This is Bob. Bob is doing well. Very well indeed. That's because not long ago, Bob realized that he needed something better in his life. And what did he get? Why, a big boost of confidence. A little more self-esteem. And a very happy missus at home. If you're interested in learning more about Enzyte, call for more information at 1-877-4-ENZYME or visit us online.
It's easy to notice things like worn wiper blades or a burned-out headlight, but there are some other things you should check routinely to help keep your car safe, like your tires. 1 out of every 4 cars on the road has at least one underinflated tire, and underinflated tires are a leading cause of catastrophic blowouts. Learn more about what you can do to keep your vehicle safe and on the road with this booklet. It's free from Shell. Count on Shell.
Philosophy 101? Not today. Grad school? Later. Taking the bar? and your earnings grow tax-free. So when they're ready for college, you will be too. See your financial advisor. Your goals, our discipline. AIM.
Wherever terror raises its ugly head, there so shall we be. We are a great people, and we do great things, and the world is a safer place because America... I am non-apologetically a conservative. We have the top newsmakers of the day, the people involved in the stories, different angles. We seek out opposing viewpoints, and then we let the audience decide. Stand up for freedom.
Sean Hannity's now on the radio, noon to 3, weekdays on News Talk 860 KPEM.
Hi, Portland. I'm Rick with Empire Glass. Let Empire Glass replace your cracked windshield and we'll still pay up to $100 of your comprehensive insurance deductible. And we'll now give you 24 free dinners to Sherry's, the #1 family restaurant and pie bakery in Oregon and Washington. And we'll even give you a certificate for a free 14-karat diamond pendant necklace with any windshield replacement. So for the highest in quality windshields, call Empire Glass today at 503-251-9881. When you think glass, think Empire.
In the Unresolved Problems segment tonight, drugs and public housing. In a unanimous decision, the Supreme Court has ruled that the federal government can evict any person living in public housing that allows drugs to be used in that housing, even by another person living with them, and even if they didn't know about it. Courts saying that the tenant has a responsibility to control drug use among family members and guests. Since we, the taxpayers, fork over $7.5 billion yearly to support public housing, we have a stake in this. Joining us now from San Francisco are Paul Rennie, one of the attorneys who argued against the ruling in front of the Supreme Court, and Heather McDonald, a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute, a conservative think tank. So you think this is a good ruling, Ms. McDonald?
I do, Mr. O'Reilly. This is about responsibility, as you said. The advocates' position that are challenging this law is basically the rights of the law-breaking few should trump the well-being of the law-abiding majority.
But it's not as simple as that, and you know it. You got 4 elderly people in California. Wait. You got 4 elderly people in California, all right, thrown out of public housing because people around them who maybe were using this, sleeping, in the apartment or whatever, were using drugs. Now, number one, these people were probably not physically strong enough to prevent that action from taking, and now they're out on the street and they had nothing to do with their drug use.
When they signed the lease to their apartments, they agreed that they would be responsible for drug use in and around their apartments by people living with them. They also were warned twice in this case. They took on the responsibility. Coke was found 3 times in the apartment. A daughter of one of the tenants was using coke outside. A grandson was using marijuana. They agreed to take responsibility. They were obviously unable. It's a very sad thing.
Maybe they were afraid that they would get brutalized if they told about it.
The problem is we've seen what happens when drug use runs rampant in public housing. It turns them into hellholes.
It does. There's no question about that.
The federal government has been blowing up housing projects from Baltimore to Chicago. The reason is not that the physical buildings were unsound. The people living in them had turned them into hellholes.
Okay.
And we have to get a control.
What say you, Counselor, about that?
Well, let me just say that I think she has her facts incorrect insofar as
I got them from the Supreme Court opinion. This is Rehnquist's opinion.
All right, let the counselor state his case. You can come back. Go ahead.
Insofar as these particular individuals were involved, 2 of the women, it was the grandsons, who were in a parking lot, one of whom was noticed to be smoking a marijuana cigarette. The other one was not, but when questioned by a housing authority officer said that he had smoked marijuana cigarettes. And in the case of Mrs. Rucker, her mentally defective daughter was observed to be drinking beer about 3 blocks away from the housing complex. And when she was searched, they found on her person the rock cocaine.
All right, but they had been warned before, Counsel. You know they had been warned before, and that's a fact. 9-0 in the Supreme Court. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I mean, you can't get a more liberal judge than she is. She even said the federal government has to control these housing projects. And in any policy, some people are going to get hurt that maybe it should have. But the overall policy seems to be stable. You can't use drugs, 0 tolerance. If anybody that you are sheltering does, you're all out of there. Come on.
I might suggest that there was a talk about personal responsibility. The evidence in this case showed that the grandmothers Barbara Hill and Willie Lee, had lived in public housing for some 15 years, had warned their children. They had had absolutely no problems, and no one had complained about their occupancy. So that to say that somehow or other it was necessary, and it's necessary...
Why did you lose 9-0 then? Why did you lose 9-0, Counselor?
Why did we lose 9-0? Because I think we are the product of poor people and drugs. That on the war on drugs, anything goes. Poor people can be collateral damage.
Bill,
what do you think?
Drugs are a war on poor people. If you allow drug use to run rampant in these housing projects, you're going to have people whose lives are destroyed. I would suggest that Mr. Rennie, if he wants to set up a fund for people that are kicked out because of this very sound rule, that would be fine. Let private people support this, but the taxpayers also have an obligation to make sure that the housing that they're providing out of generosity is well maintained, is livable, is a safe space for people that want to get on with their lives.
I'm going to give the council the last word in San Francisco. Councilor, surely you know that, as Ms. McDonald pointed out, there are some public housing hellholes and $7.5 billion a year that we're paying. I like the zero tolerance program. I'll give you the last word.
Absolutely, there are hellholes, but these tenants, these three tenants, clearly are as much the victim of drug use as are any other tenants in the building. And there was plenty of remedies that the Housing Authority has to eliminate the wrongdoer and not to eliminate the innocent.
We appreciate both your points of view. Thank you very much for coming in. Plenty more ahead as the factor moves along this evening. Is the restaurant chain Hooters a corrupting influence on kids? Some in Texas say yes. And later, a teacher harassed by students wins a huge lawsuit. Right back.
Amazing Siding, the #1 siding company in America, is having a gigantic spring sale on siding and windows. Call today for your no-obligation free estimate, 1-800-956-5432.
Call Amazing Siding, and you'll never paint again.
Say goodbye to machines taking up valuable office space and tap into the Kinko's network.
Moo. Gateway's got an amazing business deal for you on the Gateway 910C server. It's powered by an Intel Celeron processor and it's just $4.99. Plus, when you buy this or any select Gateway server, you'll get an on-site security check. It's everything you need to see how secure your business network is, and it's free. So just call 1-800-GATEWAY today and see what we can do for your business. That's 1-800-GATEWAY.
After 7 years of trying, he's really here.
Good gifts of love.
Hi, Mom.
Good gifts to hand me down.
Honey, who's that?
It's Mark, our financial advisor.
You've planned the next 18 years?
Yeah.
From college to retirement planning, our financial advisors help clients realize their dreams.
These gifts to
Going to the airport? Hey, Bill, you stayed here too? Yeah, want to share a cab? Deal. All right. Great hotel. Yeah, pricey though. Wasn't that bad. Yeah, if you're CEO. Why? What did you pay? Here's my bill. I'd have paid nearly that. Not even half. You got ripped. Hey, buddy, I can get you a great deal on the Brooklyn Bridge.
Save up to 70% on hotels worldwide. Hotels.com. The best prices at the best places, guaranteed.
Tonight, one of the first ships to fight the war on terror comes home victorious. The return of the Roosevelt, plus the naval tribute to New York's bravest. Special report with Britt Hume. We are the #1 nightly political program on cable news. We are Fox News Channel, the network America trusts for fair and balanced news.
Hi, I'm Brian Kilmeade. Tomorrow on Fox and Friends, Colin Powell. An in-depth look at the leader, the former general, and the man. It all starts at 6 a.m. Eastern. See you then.
The Impact segment is brought to you by Fidelity Investments. We can help you see yourself succeeding.
The Impact segment tonight, the restaurant chain Hooters. If you haven't been there, it specializes in fried food and rather well-endowed waitresses. Some residents of Arlington, Texas are trying to stop a Hooters from getting a liquor license in their neighborhood, saying the restaurant is bad for their community and kids. Joining us now from Arlington, between Dallas and Fort Worth, is Barry Johnson, co-chair of the Partnership for Community Values Organization. Hooters corrupting kids? Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Hooters corrupting kids?
Yeah, that's what we think in the long term is what's gonna be the situation. Bill, I think one thing that we need to make sure that we understand right up front is that the battle between Hooters, that's going on with Hooters right now, is not necessarily between our group, Partnership for Community Values. It is the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission that is trying to deny Hooters their beer license.
Yeah, but that's pressure from you guys and other people like you. Don't like the restaurant in a neighborhood. I guess it's going to be a strip mall. But here's my question, Mr. Johnson. I lived in Dallas for a couple of years, and I know Arlington very well. You got Six Flags there, right?
Right.
And any given day in the summertime in Six Flags, you're going to see ladies in Six Flags, a family amusement park, just as scantily clad as the Hooter babes, okay? I mean, they're running around in little bikinis. You got a big pool there. Come on. I mean, people see the same thing at the beach far worse than they do at Hooters. So what's the deal?
Well, that's a very good point, Bill. But I think the comparison isn't quite right there on the money because the people at Six Flags or at the beach are not being paid to titillate the customer, so to speak. I think what we need to do is take a look at what makes Hooters the restaurant that they are. Our objection to them was not necessarily just limited to the scantily clad uniforms of their waitresses. It was a whole lot much broader picture than that, not just the nature of their business, but also the location in a neighborhood area.
Okay. But if it was a topless bar or something, I kind of understand it. But this is just like, you know, we showed the video, and they got the T-shirts on, and, you know, they got the whatever they're doing there with the bras and popping them up. I don't know what they're doing. But they got the short pants and all. But come on. I mean, kids see this stuff. They see it on television. They see it at Six Flags. They see it at the beach and the pool. I think you're making a big deal out of something that's really not a big deal. Plus, if you don't want to go there, you can tell your kid not to go there, you know?
Well, I think the issue is not us wanting to go there, and I don't think you have to worry about us being there. Yeah. It's the concern that we've got about a lot of the other kids that are in the neighborhood. As a matter of fact, just for an example, Martin High School, which is the largest high school in Texas, and the last time I checked, it was the second largest in the entire nation, has open campus lunch every day.
And they can go to Hooters, these high school kids.
No, actually what happens is that the Hooters is located about a mile away from the high school, and it's nestled in a bunch of fast food restaurants that these kids go to. Okay, so what we're looking at is the propensity of, you got about 800 junior and senior high school boys.
Mr. Johnson, I gotta tell you, you know me, I'm honest, all right?
Sure.
And I think these high school kids see 100,000 times worse than this on the internet, all right? This is just a bunch of girls running around dressed up the way girls dress up in the summer in Texas. You can drive all around, from Del Rio to Amarillo. You're going to see girls like this on the street. Come on, you're making a big deal out of nothing.
Well, I really don't think so, Bill. We've got, as a matter of fact, there are about 1,300 folks that agreed with us within about 2 days. That's how many signatures we got on a petition to try to block this Hooters from coming in.
Isn't it a religious issue? It's religion-driven, though.
Do what now?
Isn't it religion-driven? You know, they just, you know.
I don't really think so. No? I think we're talking about a general sense of community values here. And that was the article that we used in the court case when we appeared before the county judge. According to Texas law, the county judge has to deny a beer license to any establishment that threatens the general welfare or the safety or sense of decency of the neighborhood.
All right. Well,
and we presented a very
When's the ruling going to be?
Well, that's kind of where we're at right now. The ruling was made. The judge denied the beer license. Then Hooters appealed it. It got bounced around through some very confusing turn of events in the district court.
All right. Well, when the final thing comes in, we'll announce it to everybody. And we appreciate your time, Mr.
All righty. Thank you.
Next up, a teacher is sexually harassed by her students, and she wins a huge judgment. We'll talk with her when we come back.
Good evening, I'm Kieran Chetry. New legal troubles are on the horizon for Congressman Gary Condit. He's been subpoenaed by a grand jury in Washington, D.C. Fox News' Claudia Cowan has the latest now.
Gary Condit, the embattled California congressman, could be called to testify before a grand jury within the next few weeks. According to the Washington Post, members of Condit's staff have also been subpoenaed, as have some of Chandra Levy's friends. The Superior Court grand jury's decision to issue subpoenas comes nearly a year after she vanished. Chandra had finished a federal internship and reportedly had an affair with the congressman, an allegation Condit has never publicly denied. The grand jury is looking into whether Condit obstructed justice in the investigation. In other words, whether he lied to police. Flight attendant Anne Marie Smith says he did, asking her to sign a false affidavit denying they had an affair. Authorities have already subpoenaed Condit's credit card and phone records. And as for why he's being subpoenaed now, well, sources say it's not unusual to get witness testimony on the court record before too much time passes during the course of a long grand jury investigation. Police have always said that Gary Condit is not a suspect, but they have also strongly suggested that he has not been completely forthcoming with them either. In San Francisco, Claudia Cowan, Fox News.
And we're back with another update at the top of the hour. I'm Kieran Chetri. The O'Reilly Factor continues after the break here on the Fox News Channel.
All around the world, Siemens is energizing the cities and towns we live in. We engineer new ways to efficiently generate, distribute, and use power. And by providing energy to people everywhere, we're giving them the power to live better.
Spin the globe. It's your turn to spin the globe.
It was not my dream to retire here. To the place where a couple first met.
I'm good, thanks.
Married. And always planned to return. But I embraced that dream with unwavering attention, and it became my own. And that's what I do at Morgan Stanley, one client at a time.
What am I to your small business? I'm a Dell Dimension desktop with an Intel Pentium 4 processor for just $699. A serious upgrade in power without the annoying upgrade in price. But look closer. What I really am is a better way for your business to do business. Customized to fit your needs and backed by award-winning service and support on the phone or online 24/7. Allow me to grow your business. I'm a Dell Dimension desktop, powered by the Intel Pentium 4 processor for only $699. I'm much, much more than business as usual.
Get great deals on Dell Business desktops, notebooks, and servers. Right now, double your memory on select Dell Business systems. And save up to $300 on select systems.
Small business technology. Easy to buy, easy to own, easy as Dell.
One footnote before we get to the personal story segment tonight. Bobby Knight, the coach, the basketball coach, supposed to be here in this segment, but Bobby Knight did not show up. This is the first time in, I think, 2 years that a guest simply didn't show up, which says a lot about Mr. Knight. It really does. I mean, we don't really care. We have better stories anyway, but he is not a man of honor and not a man of his word, and we thought you would just like to know that, all right? So, in the personal story segment tonight, a California teacher wins more than $4 million suing her high school. A couple of years ago, Janice Adams expelled 2 students from her media class at Palisades High School in Los Angeles. Those students then began harassing Miss Adams, putting vile stuff about her in an underground student newspaper, among other things. Ms. Adams appealed to the school district, but nothing was done to stop the students, so she sued and won big. Joining us now from Los Angeles is Janice Adams, that's my mistake, and her attorney, the always provocative Gloria Allred. Remind me, counselor, to hire you if I ever get in trouble out there in L.A. $4.5 million to Miss Adams. Congratulations on that verdict.
Yes,
I hope it was a just verdict. I wasn't in the courtroom. But, Miss Adams, why don't you tell the nation your story? Let's start with the expulsion of the students. What did they do, and what did you do?
That is primarily the problem with my story, is that they would not expel the students.
No, but you booted them out of your class, right?
I certainly did.
All right, that's what I mean.
Several times I couldn't control their behavior. I even filed sexual harassment papers against them for using vile language and actions in my classroom. and their parents complained and said that would affect their permanent record, so that that paper was taken out of their folder.
All right, but I want to know exactly what these two, there were two guys, right?
Yes.
Juniors, what were they? What?
Juniors when they started out,
Okay,
and seniors when the paper came out.
All right, so they were juniors in your media class. They were cursing at you?
Well, changing the words when they would read aloud. I was teaching English, and they would read Shakespeare and change it to obscene words instead of the words
class?
that were there. Oh, definitely.
So they would use obscene language in front of you in class?
Often, yes.
See, I'm amazed because I was a high school teacher, and if that happened to me, but it's all right. So they were using obscene, inappropriate language in class. You got them out of your class. You said, enough's enough, out of there. And then they started to do this underground newspaper stuff, right? What did they do in the newspaper?
Well, the newspaper was obscene. There's no other word for it. The title of the newspaper was an obscenity about a sexual act. And they took a lot of teachers, and they took and did horrible articles about them. And when they did one on me, I had it, and I demanded their expulsion. The school district did not think that it warranted such a thing, and I kept pushing. And as the more I pushed, the more the papers came out, and the worse they got.
Really?
It just...
So it was warfare between you and these two students. Now, what did the principal of your school say when you went in and said, look what they're doing here? They're undercutting my authority. They're attacking me as a human being. What does this principal say?
He said, I'm doing the best I can. My hands are tied. I have problems with the district and this and that. And we're doing what we can do, which was very little.
All right. So the school board, is that who was said not failing to punish these kids? Is the school board was responsible in your opinion?
I have no idea. I have no idea how far up it went.
So when he said his hands are tied, the principal said his hands are tied, did you say, who's tying your hands, and how come you can't deal with these kids?
I didn't question it. Legal people were there, and they said they couldn't do anything. The police, Los Angeles Unified Police were there, and they said it's not a crime. The students carried this newspaper, 10 editions for 4 months. It just got out of control.
All right, and the students would make these underground newspapers and then give it to other students, so it would flip around the school, and everybody would see it.
Yes, indeed.
How badly did it hurt your credibility in a classroom with other students?
Oh, it was horrendous. It was absolutely horrendous. Each time it would get worse and worse until they had a photograph of me, my face on a naked woman's body in a compromising position. It was all over the school. There was not much I could do about it.
Now, Ms. Allred, you took the case, obviously, and you went into court and said, who's responsible? Who did you accuse of being responsible here?
Well, this is the first case in the nation, Bill, in which a teacher has been severely sexually harassed by her students, and in which a jury found that the school district is responsible for not protecting the teacher from that severe sexual harassment. But when you say the school
district, who's the bad guy? Is it the principal, the school board? Who is it? The superintendent?
Well, I mean, it is the school district, because the school district is her employer. And most people don't think of a school as a workplace, but it is the teacher's workplace. And all employers, including school districts, have a duty to make sure that it's not a sexually harassing atmosphere.
Who makes the decision not to kick the kids out? The superintendent, the principal, who?
Well, I mean, obviously there was a decision by those in authority. Who made that decision? We can't tell you. But what we can tell you is this. They failed to adequately protect the teacher from sexual harassment.
What was their defense?
And the jury unanimously found for her.
Right. What was their defense?
Well, basically, they engaged in the blame game. They seemed to suggest that, well, it was the students' fault. But guess what? The students were their students, and they had a duty to educate them about sexual harassment, and that there are limits on free speech. And those limits are defined by sexual harassment.
So they didn't have any defense. They didn't blame Ms. Adams, did they?
Well, I mean, at some point they were trying to blame Ms. Adams, saying that she didn't complain, but we proved that she did complain. They tried to maybe point the finger at the police, but the police were saying it was not a criminal matter. The bottom line was that it was their responsibility to protect the teacher, and excuses don't protect teachers.
No.
They had a duty to do more,
Well, it's the principal's fault. I mean, the principal's a gutless guy, because if I were principal, I would have put an end to that in about 10 minutes. And this is a pretty affluent high school, this Palisades High School, right?
Well, and I'm glad you're making that point. It's the premier charter high school in the Los Angeles
Right, and the parents of these kids knew about it, right, Miss Adams? You told the parents what they were doing, right?
Exactly.
And what did the parents say to you?
The parents ultimately hired attorneys for their children to reinstate them back into the school. No one ever apologized. No, nothing. It was out of control.
You know, you should have sued the parents too. Ms. Orridge, if you think of that, you should have gone after the parents too.
Well, I mean, this was a big case, and it was against the school district. And what I want to point out is that this publication was graphic, sexually explicit, vulgar, and profane.
But you should have got the parents too. I would have gone after them for failing to supervise the underage kids. You won $4.5 million, Miss Adams. Congratulations to you. Gloria, you're a troublemaker, but hey, you're on the side of the angels on this one.
Thank you.
Boy, that principal is a weasel, and I hope everybody in L.A., Palisades High School, tomorrow calls him up and tells him that. Thanks, ladies. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. And when we come back, huge reaction to Rosie O'Donnell and Bill O'Reilly, the interview, and she repudiated some of her liberal leanings. We'll talk with a liberal columnist about that in a moment.
This program is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, located on the web at mbusa.com.
Not necessarily an indication they'll be the same tomorrow, as they may or could have been at specific periods in the past. Further market developments are expected to occur. Some point in the foreseeable future.
Is your market news really in real time? Daytech. Built to trade.
What's really the best value? A discount spiral slice supermarket ham? Or a club store ham? Or, for about 75 cents more per person, the guaranteed quality of a tender, slow-smoked honey-baked ham. Taste tests prove your guests know the right answer, so don't risk your holiday meal. Serve tender honey-baked ham with our famous crackling sweet glaze. Only at the Honey Baked Ham stores in Johns Landing, Lloyd Center, Beaverton Town Square, Westfield Shopping Town, Vancouver, and Salem Center. And for Easter in Clackamas and Washington Square.
In each of us, there is a dancer. A poet. A photographer. A singer. For the music in you, Key FM 102.
Hi, Portland. I'm Rick with Empire Glass. Let Empire Glass replace your cracked windshield and we'll still pay up to $100 of your comprehensive insurance deductible. And we'll now give you 24 free dinners to Sherry's, the #1 family restaurant and pie bakery in Oregon and Washington. And we'll even give you a certificate for a free 14-karat diamond pendant necklace with any windshield replacement. So for the highest in quality windshields, call Empire Glass today at 503-251-9881. When you think glass, think Empire.
Mitsubishi says, what are you going to do with the money you save when you have 0 down, 0 interest, 0 payments till 2003 on all Mitsubishis? 2002 Eclipse, Montero, Montero Sport, Lancer, all models. Quality and value is what it's all about. And you know what? Mitsubishi's thrown in another 0. Get 0% interest for 60 months on all new 2001 Mitsubishis. There's no better way to get a new automobile and save. That's 0, 0, 0. Come down to any of the Portland Metro Mitsubishi dealers and see for yourself. Mitsubishi. Wake up and drive.
In the back of the book segment tonight, reaction to our interview with Rosie O'Donnell last night. As we told you at the top of the broadcast, we got 12,000 letters in reaction, and we will have some of those letters, a good portion of them, at the end of the broadcast. But now we want to go to Ellis Hennigan, our resident left-leaning guy.
Fair-minded, you meant to say.
Yeah, brilliant and fair-minded, but a raging liberal. Because I was surprised. I was not prepared for Rosie O'Donnell to concede as much politically as she conceded in that interview. Were you surprised?
Well, a little bit. I mean, 9/11 had a lot of effect on a lot of people, particularly those of us who live in New York. It was a profound event. When she says that it made her reassess some of her deepest thoughts. I take the lady at her word. I think it probably rattled her as it rattled a lot of people.
But she was reassessing almost all of her positions, where I haven't seen that among a lot of other people. That was very surprising. Do you think she did herself good to come on the broadcast?
Bill O'Reilly, both you and Rosie were at your best last night. It served you both. And let me see if I can separate how it served each of you. From your point of view, you got a terrific guest, a strong guest, someone that you could go mano a mano with, who stood up to you and was willing to have a sharp, intense debate. And that's when you come off the best, I think. Plus, it was a good get. I mean, you got some publicity out of it, and a lot of people watched. And that's how you and Rosie and me and all of us make our living, just by having people look at it. She got a bunch of advantages as well. It showed that she was not a wimp, that she was willing to come into the lion's den and go face-to-face with the big guy. And in the long run, if you just let people look at you and assess you as a human being, often you're surprised. I'll bet you that your mail was not too hostile against Rosie. I bet you a lot of people liked it.
75-25 in her favor. You know, if Al Gore had done what she did, she would be president right now. I really, but not just with the factor, but if he had... See, what she did that was smart was this. She realizes that a lot of people just don't like her for religious reasons or political reasons.
Whatever, it's America.
But she said, look, I have a chance here to reach people that I'm never going to reach on my show. I'm never going to reach on some of the other shows that I go on, and try to convince them that I'm not this monstrous, ogreous person. And I think she accomplished that.
Well, Billy, it's a calculation I make every time I come on your show.
Oh, you get paid to come on here. And again, and you couldn't get a job anywhere else. You'd be out on the street. That's why you're here.
Some of the people like my column, some people see me on the radio, but the fact of the matter is that when you and I are here, even people who don't agree with every word out of my mouth, I hope, come away with a sense of, hey, you know, he's a bright guy, he's got some stuff to say. And in the end, that's how we let people know who we are, and that's how we promote and encourage the views that
I have always been of the opinion that Americans admire two things above all else.
Right.
Honesty and courage.
Yeah.
And I can never understand how politicians and movie stars and all these other people can't figure that out.
Right.
That if they're in the middle of a cause, because Rosie O'Donnell really wants to have the state of Florida overturn this ban on gay adoption.
Right. And you don't doubt her sincerity.
No, not at all.
The depth of her beliefs.
Absolutely not.
Legitimate.
Sincere woman.
Absolutely.
And came across as respecting people who differed from her last night.
That's right.
That was different. Right. On her show, she used it as a hammer. No, she did. She hammered the opposition. Last night, she was willing to say, yes, other people have a point.
But hammering, if you eliminate hammering in television hosts, you got a problem, my friend.
I listen to everybody's point of view and respect it.
Listen, absolutely. But you're in the hammer business as well. I mean, I've seen you when you're on with a weak guest. You can be pretty aggressive.
O'Donnell wouldn't put the other side on. She used the Hillary Clinton thing, the Streisand thing, to push an agenda. We never do that.
But you are at your best when you're on and matched with somebody who is equally strong.
No, that's everybody.
No. You are. I mean, it's no good to watch you run over somebody.
No,
that's why you like having me on, because I will give you a run for your money.
Well, I like having you on because you kick back to me. I mean, I get a check every time.
Can I give you the lesson, though? Jesse Jackson should turn up. Hillary Clinton should turn up.
Absolutely.
Al Gore should turn up.
Right.
And anybody who doesn't is missing out on an opportunity.
And it's over now to run away and hide behind the skirts of your handlers. It hurts you. Ellis, thanks very much for coming in. Always a pleasure.
Happy to be here.
Next, we'll wrap things up. The most ridiculous item and a lot of your mail on Rosie O'Donnell. Right back.
Hello, I'm Robert Wagner for Fox Movie Channel's Hour of Stars. Movies for the small screen with big talent, big scripts, and big ideas.
Call your cable or satellite provider to get this new network.
Say goodbye to being stuck with equipment your business has outgrown and tap into the Kinko's network.
The self-propelled Toro personal pace mower. It adjusts to your pace, however slow or fast that may be. Another smart idea from Toro.
It used to be that treating a genital herpes outbreak took almost a week out of my life. It meant 5 whole days on Zovirax. But now my doctor told me about a way to treat it for just 3 days. Valtrex.
Just another day.
Valtrex for genital herpes, the only medicine FDA approved to treat an outbreak when taken twice a day for just 3 days.
Nothing in my way.
Valtrex is made by the same company as Zovirax, and it's the same kind of medicine. But each dose of Valtrex puts more medicine into your bloodstream, so it lasts longer, and you don't have to take it as often. Common side effects are headache and nausea.
3 days is so much easier than 5 days.
Remember, there is no cure for herpes, and even with treatment, it may be possible to spread herpes to others. To avoid a potentially serious complication, tell your doctor if your immune system is not normal because of advanced HIV disease, bone marrow, or kidney transplant. Call your doctor today and ask about switching to 3-day treatment with Valtrex.
Valtrex, just 3 days.
Nothing in my way.
Tonight, one of the first ships to fight the war on terror comes home, the return of the Roosevelt. Special report with Britt Hume. Fair and balanced on Fox News Channel. Starting April 7th, it's a whole new season of war stories with all new episodes of valor, courage, and bravery in America's fight for freedom. Plus, through never-before-seen footage, War Stories reveals the military secrets behind America's greatest battles. Starting April 7th, it's a whole new season of War Stories with Oliver North.
Time now for the most ridiculous item of the day. Another example of just how overexposed your humble correspondent is. This coming Thursday evening at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, the Fox Network, the one that brings you The Simpsons, will broadcast a second O'Reilly Factor special entitled The Corruption of the American Child. If you thought the Rosie O'Donnell interview was compelling, check this out. It is one of the most controversial news specials you will ever see. Thursday at 9 on Fox. You can decide if it's ridiculous. Finally tonight, the Mail, all about Rosie O'Donnell. Last night's interview was watched by more than 6 million Americans and millions of others overseas. Mike Graham, Larchmont, New York. Bill, how does it feel to have your clock cleaned in a no-spin manner? Rosie admitted she made mistakes, so why don't you acknowledge the real reason you drag celebrities into the mud, ratings? Ralph DiMatteo, Cleveland, Ohio. Bill, once again, you managed to present an insightful discussion between two diverse points of view. As usual, your viewers are the winners. John Charles, Los Angeles. While I oppose Rosie's politics, she impressed me by exhibiting 2 virtues that will forever keep Hillary Clinton from appearing on The Factor: honesty and humility. Yvonne Bush, Georgetown, Texas. Oh, I understand that Rosie loves her children. However, I do think that all kids miss something in life if they don't have a mother and a father. Bob Tarr, Cincinnati, Ohio. Bill, you and Rosie were both right. Ideally, the mother-father setup is best for kids. But in a less than perfect world, gay parents are better than wards of the state. Kim Mance, Stavanger, Norway. I'm not surprised that Miss O'Donnell was nervous about coming on your program, Bill. Most celebrities aren't used to anyone questioning their use of fame to promote political agendas. Ben Sanchez, Carrollton, Texas. Hey, Bill, since when did you become a softball pitcher? You seem ready to join Larry King's team in the interview with Rosie. Mary and Bob Bunsa, Basking Ridge, New Jersey. Bill, your interview with Rosie was terrific. I watched it because I wanted to see you fry her, but I was very pleased with the outcome. Sarah Ness, Merrimack, New Hampshire. A message to Rosie: simply knowing about Jesus will not get you off the hook for your sins. Ms. Ness, as I said before, and it is worth repeating, you, me, and everybody else in the world would be best advised to stay away from pointing out the sins of others. Let God sort that out. Fight for what you think is right, but leave the ultimate judgment to the higher power. Janice Myers, Kailua, Hawaii. Bill, I give Rosie a big hand for simply walking the walk. I think you should send a copy of the interview to George Clooney as an example of stepping up when you have something to say. Ken Lanier, Torrance, California. Bill, don't be fooled by Rosie. Bob Batches, Kinnelon, New Jersey. Bill, you were too easy on Miss O'Donnell. After working on a show for more than 2 years, my opinion is that she lacks many human qualities. Arthur Stewart, London, England. We have gays here, but we don't parade them around, Bill. Aren't there more serious things to talk about? Pamela Kleinfetter, Santee, California. Bill, like Rosie, my views have changed since 9/11. I've become a full-time truth seeker, and that's why I watch the No Spin Zone. May I hang a picture of you on my wall? Hang it outside, Pamela. It will scare the raccoons. Linda Muir, Thousand Palms, California. Mr. O, in your newspaper column this week, you say to gays, don't put your bedroom on the front porch. Pithy, Bill. Very pithy. Try to be, Linda. About that website, that's pithy as well. Of course, we have the O'Donnell interview posted on the website. We will rerun the interview again on Saturday evening, so if you missed it, you can catch it then. Also, Mother's and Father's Day coming up. If you want those signed books to give as gifts, and it's an easy gift to give, right? You're not going to go rooting around for some garish tie. Get them in now because I have time now. I'm not going to have time as those days come closer. All right, O'Reilly? www.foxnews.com/O'Reilly. There's the website. That's on there. All kinds of great stuff. And how about emailing us with some pithy comments? 12,000 last night. I read about 1,500 of your emails. Very entertaining, very good. And we have our staff reading the others. So everybody gets read. It's looked at. O'Reilly at foxnews.com. Name and